Okay, so we're back at this one spot again, and I think today my plan is going to be getting this Quantum 6000Z, so it's movable. This is the chair that I built a long time ago to do air travel with, and well, actually it had that old power base. I found a new one and swapped it over, it had brand new motors and a bunch of stuff. When I first had the thing set up, it didn't have, well, it had power tilt, but it didn't have recline. So I found this other seat mechanism off of a newer chair. It turns out it's not exactly compatible with this one. This is the one that has the great big push bars on the back, attendant control, recline, tilt, elevate, all that. But that added about 90 pounds to the chair, and it didn't really quite work right. So I think what we're gonna do is swap the old seating back onto this thing, keep it simple, and it's a tank. Like, I can feel confident shoving this thing in an airplane when I go flying and not having it get damaged. But right now, there's one issue before we can move it. While it does technically roll around, you may notice that one of the motors is missing. So I brought that with me, and we're gonna swap that back on here real quick. The suspension sort of holds the thing up, but I think it would be better to have that motor on there. And I've got the wheel and the joystick and everything here. And I'm noticing that that chair back there has batteries in it. I'm not sure how good they are, but it would be cool if we could make this thing move under its own power. I did rob the armrests off of it for something else, but all the electronics are here. So we're gonna try and get this going. Now, this thing was in a video a long time ago, and what I tried to do was swap over the high-speed motors to it. But after I got them on it, I found out the hubs are different and I didn't have the hubs. But now I do have hubs. So we're gonna take this back, swap the seating over. I've got the old seat base back there, and then we're gonna swap on the faster motors. But for right now, we're going to stick this one back on here, which isn't too big of a deal. And then we'll be able to move the thing around a little bit easier. And this is exactly why I like the Allen wrenches that have the speed tip on the end. You can get the bolts that are at a weird angle. Like, see this one back here? You can't exactly hold that straight up and down, but because it has a speed tip on it, you can engage it at an angle and the thing can rotate fine. Okay, let's see if we can get the tire on here now. Oh, I just realized we don't have wheel bolts. Oh, wait. We are in luck. Here they are. Haha, sweet. Okay, so it turns out I don't have battery cables for this thing. I think they're back at the house, but normally the batteries would have their cables and then they connect to these two things up here on top. But yeah, no such luck there. So I think if nothing else, we will, come on. There we go. We'll just be able to push this thing around a little bit easier now that it's got all of its wheels. I mean, easy. It's gonna be still all I can do to get this thing into the van. But at least it rolls and stuff now. It's really not a bad looking chair. I found this frame and swapped everything over. Frame is from 2012. I think that might have been the last year they built these. Actually, I think they built them through 2015. But yeah, this roll-on mechanism is not designed for this version of the electronics. This is QLogic 1. So I did get the seat elevation working, but it was a little bit janky, and you had to, depending on which function you wanted to do, you had to reach back here and either short these wires or unshort them to get the elevation to work. But it wound up being pretty wobbly and it wasn't reliable, and it added a whole bunch of weight and complexity. And the idea for this chair was to make it as simple and as bulletproof as possible, because airlines like to thrash on things. So, I guess I'm going to work on getting that in here now. That's, well, actually, I should probably do that after chicken nuggets, though. Oh yeah, just enough room. All right, I think I got all the parts I need. I've got a few more things back at the house. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing with armrests just yet. I might take them back off of one of the other chairs. I don't know. We're gonna make this into a Franken chair though, I think. I do kind of like these push handles back here. They make nice little bumpers, but you know, that's pretty close to the window. Well, we're tied down at 3 points though, so I think we should be all right. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna get it back, get the thing unloaded, and then we'll kind of assess what we're gonna do with this thing. I would have liked to grab those batteries out of the other chair. I feel like they were probably not very good though, so we'll save that for another time. I used up most of my energy making this happen. Okay, so I think the next step here is going to be breaking down the seating. So I'm going to take off the backrest and all this stuff up here, and then probably the seat pan. And then we'll see about getting the rest of the scissor mechanism off the base. I might actually keep some of the hardware and put it on the other base once I get it on there, but a lot of these parts are interchangeable between the different versions of these things. Okay, so what we have left here is the, I forget what they call this. I think this is the True Balance 1 seating, but basically we have a couple of crossed actuators here that sort of work as a scissor. They can both activate to raise the seat, or one activates for tilt, or any combination thereof. These leg rests are super standard. They're still using a very similar version of these today, but the electronics are not capable of appropriately handling this newer thing. This needs QLogic 2 to function. It has these little magnetic switches. Actually, there's not one over there. And when I got this thing, this actuator was bad, so I actually bought and replaced that. Wound up being a waste of money because this isn't working. But I think what we're going to do now is take the leg rests off, because those are probably another 50 pounds. And then I should be able to, without the Hoyer, get this lifted off of here. Well, actually, no, this part's super heavy. I'm going to get the leg rests off regardless, and then we're going to see about getting the rest of this ripped off the base. I guess I should point out here on these Quantums and a lot of other things, here, let me up the exposure. They're sort of like unistrut rails, and they have these channels. You can see there's a block in there, and these bolts go through and go into that block. So all you have to do is loosen these up, and then when you pull, There we go. You can see that block sticking out there. And basically the clamping load here is what holds this thing in place. The Quantums use these, I'm calling them Unistred, I'm not sure what else to call them, but there's slots on the bottom and one on each side for mounting all the accessories and everything. And same for the actual seating mechanism here. It uses these little blocks and sort of a clamping sort of arrangement. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is pull the plastic cover off the top of this, check out the cabling and stuff for the controller. I've got some battery cables in here, and then we're going to work on swapping over the high-speed motors that I have. Things are a lot smaller now, a lot more manageable. So yeah, once we get those on and make sure the camber and everything is set correctly, then we're going to work on building the seat back up. I'm not 100% sure what parts I'm going to use for that yet, but we'll just kind of figure it out as we go. Well, managed to get it attached. There's a little bit of a mishmash of hardware. We've got grade 5 Allen cap bolts and then some stainless hex cap bolts. Had to run spacers on these ones here because they're a little bit long, but this hardware should be good and solid, and it's not going to go anywhere. I've only got 2 of the Allen cap bolts left, so I'm going to have to do a little bit more digging around in my hardware to see if I can find another 2 for the other side. But yeah, we are making progress. Something else to note on these chairs, the 6.5 mile-an-hour version has this connector that's attached to the motor, and it unplugs right here. But the Hammer motors have one single wire that goes all the way back to the controller. So you have to remove this little bracket here, and there's actually, I don't know if you can see them, there's some little cable ties on the side of the motor that hold the wire in place, and the motor pivots from this end, so that gives it enough slack to be able to move up and down, and then get back here to the controller. And there's a bunch of these little ties everywhere to hold the cables down. And the way the battery connection is really nice as well. They have these mini Anderson connectors. Everything's bolted down. Cable management is awesome on these old things. So yeah, we're slowly making progress. I do with a fender for this side. I'm going to put it on there just because. I'm sure it'll break instantly, but whatever. But yeah, we'll definitely be putting the Z back in the 6000 here soon. By the way, there's a pretty quick, easy way to differentiate between the 6.5 and the Hammer motors, which are anywhere between 8.5 and 11 miles an hour, just by looking at them. So first off, the Hammer motors, as they call them, or the fast ones, it's this one here. Notice the gearbox is a lot bigger. It has an extra jack shaft in there, which handles a little bit more of the output gear speed, basically. And this one here, you can see the gearbox is significantly smaller, but the main way you can tell is the strut that holds the motor together and also to the gearbox is on the outside if you're looking at one of the Hammer motors or the high-speed motors. So you can see here, this bolt is outside the motor, whereas on this one, it is actually inside. So if you're looking at the chair, all you have to do is look for that bolt. There's 2 of them. There's going to be one on this top corner and then one down here as well. And that's the easiest way to tell the difference. Just look for a giant bolt and also the bigger gearbox. Then you know you've got the high-speed motors. Okay, some time has elapsed, but we've made progress. So I've got the motors on here, got the fenders back on, everything's bolted down nice and solid. I ended up using more of the hex cap bolts. They're grade 5 with some spacer nuts on this side, and seemed like it worked pretty well, so I think we should be good there. Yeah, I think at this point I'm going to see if my Odyssey batteries will fit in here. I think they actually might, because this chair has a wee bit more room on the sides. And then we're going to get the battery wiring sorted out, get the motor wiring tied up, and then you can see here how it clips along this side. So I just need to attach this one over here, remove the adapters, get the controller plugged in, then we can put the lid back on, and then we'll worry about what kind of seating components we want to use. I still have the old seat base in the back of the van, so yeah, we'll get it figured out. All right, that was a lot of work, but managed to fit the batteries in there. I had to pull off these plastic side panels on the chair for them to fit in, but they're in. So ready to plug in the joystick and power it up for the first time. So we've got all of our wiring done, and we managed to fit those Odysseys in there. Okay, we're probably going to get an error though because there's no seating module. Yeah, no errors at all. Ah, there's the error. It appears though our left and right motors are swapped. I was hoping that wouldn't happen, but the wiring is very tight down inside there, so I'm going to have to pop that back off and swap those motor leads. Then we'll be good. Wiring is swapped, so let's hook our batteries back up. Okay. Right motor doesn't want to move. Oh, there we go. Oh, maybe. What's going on here? Looks like our right motor's having some problems. Come on, you can do it. Kind of sounds like the brushes need to be cleaned in it. Yeah, something going on with that right motor for sure. I'm going to pop the brush caps, blow some air through there, and see if we can get that working a little better. Got all the plastics put back on. This motor's not 100% yet. I can always swap that out later, but I want to move on and get the seating on here because none of that matters when it comes to the motors. I can always swap that out for another one later if I need to. But yeah, got it all sealed up now. Fenders and everything are on, so let's go ahead and move on to the seating. It's the next morning, and yeah, a little bit tired or something. Had to take my, well, they're not emergency meds, but the stuff I use for dysreflexia last night. And they always make the next day kind of interesting. But here's the 6000Z. It's mostly together. I need to sort out a few things with the leg rest spacing still, and also this right motor is still giving me problems. So I'm going to take it apart one more time. Well, just the motor. I don't have to take the chair apart to do that. And if I can't find anything obvious as to what's going on, I thought I found something before, but I guess not. I've got another motor over here I'm going to swap in. Usually it's a good idea to swap out wheelchair motors in pairs, just because of the manufacturing tolerances and everything's a little bit different. But you can adjust the steering tracking, and yeah. If you ever used the Quantum 6000, you're probably aware of how when you tilt back, the seat rocks to one side. I just realized when I was pushing on this. If you look right here, as I push on the side of the chair, see how it moves? That's a problem that plagues the tilt mechanisms on pretty much all these chairs. And that's why I tried swapping over to the other one. It was a newer version. I thought maybe they'd fix that. Turns out they didn't, and the electronics couldn't handle it anyways. So now I'm going back to this other version, with the exception of leaving this backrest on that has the giant push handles on the back. I'm going to be putting a quick takedown pin right here to disconnect this actuator. Although now that I'm looking at it, this mechanism may not work. The idea for this chair is that you can pull a pin and fold the seat completely flat. I've got some pictures of that, of how I had this thing set up previously, but the airline doors, or the cargo bay doors on airplanes, are only so tall, and if your chair is too high, they will set the thing on its side, and that's when everything gets damaged. So the idea was for this chair to make it so that it can fold flat. That's how I had it set up previously. And then in an attempt to make it more awesome, I made it much less awesome and a lot heavier. So anyways, I'm gonna try and fix this motor. I'll be back. All right, so I decided to just go ahead and pull the housing off the motor. Everything looks fine in there. There's no contaminants. We've got our output shaft here, and it's held on with a circlip. And also the back housing was held on with a small circlip as well, which is pretty nice. And after looking at this thing, the commutator is a little bit dirty. I mean, I've seen a lot worse. But yeah, the brush housing and everything looks fine. All the connections are staked on, and each one of these connectors is actually soldered in place. So yeah, I think we're good. What I'm going to do, I've got some super fine grit sandpaper. I'm going to go ahead and clean up this commutator a little bit, just because it wouldn't hurt. The brushes all look pretty much fine. So I'm not sure what the issue is on this thing, but you know, I'm sure this won't hurt cleaning it up. Looks a lot more like copper now, which is probably a bonus. Wasn't really too bad. I mean, like I said, I've seen other ones that are worse and still work fine, so anyways, let's jam this thing back together. And if this doesn't work, I've got another motor we can stick on here. And I don't think there's a reason to dismount the gearbox. I could always just slap the other motor on. But yeah, let's get it going. Alright, let's power this thing up and see what happens. Alright, let's see if it spins at low speed. Well, it seems to be turning at low speed now. Before, you would have to really get on the throttle to get it to move. I can't see the tire on the other side though. Let's see here. Okay, there we go. Now I can compare. Yeah, it's still not turning as easily as the one on the other side. Well, I don't know. I think I'm going to put the wheel back on and try running around a little bit with some load on it and see what happens. I guess the other thing I could do is check the connector on the controller just to make sure it's plugged in all the way. They do latch into place, and usually if one of those was loose, it would throw an error. But, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to tell here. So, oh no! I forgot the grease seal. Motor's coming back off. Okay, as per usual, that was a lot of work, but we have our drive motor situation taken care of. Now the chair can turn in either direction very predictably and at very low speed. Turns out, I don't know what was wrong with that other motor, so I grabbed the other one that I had, and the grease seal on that one had a bit of an issue, and I couldn't get it off of there, and it was also leaking. This is the motor that we originally put on there. This is the one that's having some unknown issue. I didn't look at the windings and the connection to the commutator when I took it apart. So probably later on I'm going to throw that thing on the bench and take it apart. See if we can see if there's any sort of loose connections or something like that. But for now, this motor is on the gearbox that used to be on that one, and we're good to go. I'm going to hop in this thing, go outside, do some running around. We zoomed in. I'm going to go run around outside and see what a fast chair feels like. Well, I mean, fast like the Bounder. But, yeah. Then, well, I still have to worry about all the armrests and everything, but I can sit in this for the time being, just to run around outside and test it. And then we'll worry about building the rest of it. So here it is. We've got the back on here, we've got the armrests on here, footrests are on, cushions on, attendant controls back here. This just pops out and you can disconnect it if you want. I was just working on getting the side guards set up on this thing. I'm going to have to use these brackets to adapt from Permobil, but they're going to go on here, and then the side guards will go on here. I woke up last night and realized something. I was thinking about the chair, apparently, and I don't know, I wake up every 90 minutes anyways, but I realized that I saw something yesterday, and that would be there are no bolts holding the hubs onto the motors on this chair. I was going to show you, but these wheels don't have a center cutout. But, yeah, that's kind of dangerous. There's a little set screw or a grub screw that holds the hub onto the shaft, but it's a tapered shaft. So even though you get it tight, you're still relying on hopes and dreams to make the thing not fly off of there. And I was about to hop in this thing and go out there and kind of show you the final thing and how fast it is and all that. But we don't need one of the wheels coming off. By the way, that's how automatic transmissions work as well. Hopes and dreams. Nobody really knows what's going on inside of them, even the people that designed them. But anyways, there's not quite as much floor space in here, but I think there's enough room. I have to get the floor jack over here and pop these wheels off. And we're going to have to put some nuts, washers, and lock washers on there because I enjoy safety as much as the next person, but I would like to reduce the amount of safety that happens around here, using safety as a verb, of course. Let's get this fixed real quick. There are no bolts or nuts in there. See how we just have the motor shaft and the hub and nothing holding it on? Yeah. Luckily, I happen to have in stock some bolts and nuts and washers. So we can jam that in there, jam our lock washer on, jam one of these nuts on here, and in theory I might have a socket big enough to actually handle that. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. We are fancy. Now the trick is, will this ratchet actually work? This one has some issues. Let's see. Extension. There we go. Click. Yeah, there we go. Looks like it's better than it was before. Okay. That'll do. Let's get the other side done now. Okay, let's go for a rip in our new stupid fast thing. I still don't have the joystick mount on here. Some of the back covers are still missing, but that's okay. We can go running around in the street a little bit. Oh my goodness, this thing is so fast, and it's smooth. Jacob, I understand now why you refused to get a new chair. These things are freaking awesome. There is nothing built like this. And that's coming from a person that has like 20-something power chairs. Yeah, this is a little bit faster than the Bounder. Granted, my Bounder is not the stock one. It was the low speed, like off-road version that I sort of hopped up a little bit with some different gear ratios. But yeah, this chair moves. Oh man. Well, I need to charge up the batteries. These ones are brand new. They're from an electric vehicle project, actually. That's why I have so many of them. And well, that truck drove once, and the batteries have never been properly cycled, so. I'm gonna have to break them in a little bit, which basically just means don't run them super dead, like the first few times you use it. But yeah, super happy. This thing is awesome. Oh, also, by the way, I can't remember if I cut that other clip out of the video, but storage is done. All my filth is now in this house. How exciting is that? Not to mention it's another $312 a month I won't have to pay, but I can finally relax a little bit and get to sorting things. Does that? Yeah. I just noticed this camera has a red light on it. Never seen that before. I guess it's sort of blocked by the lens. I'm distracted easily. But yeah, everything is here. So now I can finally focus on sorting stuff, getting rid of things, and finally getting to some projects. There's a number of things I've wanted to do since I've had a shop and a garage that I can, well, not a shop, but a garage full of stuff. That I can fabricate things and actually work on some sweet projects. So first one we're going to finish is that BMW Power Wheels thing. That's going to be a pretty easy one to knock out. And I have a feeling that, I'm going to have some time to do that because I saw this weird sign on the freeway that says stay at home, save lives. So that's a thing. But yeah, I'm still planning on uploading about every 2 days. The reason this one was a little further out was because storage, but got it all done now. YouTube is still having this really weird issue. I guess I'm part of a small group of affected channels where when you go live or do live streaming, 0 notifications go out. They said they're working on the problem. They've added me to the list. If you're interested in live streams, I'm probably gonna be doing a few more of those in the next week or 3. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. It's @everyoneisdumb, all one word. There's links down below. And anytime I go live, I will post a link on there. And Twitter notifications actually work. So that's gonna be one way to sort of mitigate that. But yeah, there is a live stream. I don't know if the replay sent out notifications. It's like over 2 hours long. But that'll be linked at the end of this video as well. But anyways, yeah. Can finally relax a little bit. Anyways, I'm gonna get to getting this done and uploaded for your viewing pleasure. And yeah, well, need a little more coffee, and then yeah, we'll be good. Catch you guys in a couple days.